September 19th, 2002 was the day that R Films was born, and in 14 years, they've grown from a small group of friends filming to merely pass the time, into a family whose passion for film that cannot be matched. From their first moments to their most recent accomplishments, they're a force that cannot be stopped. They are R Films Entertainment, and these are their stories, their lives behind the camera. A man of 1,000 words. That's the best way to describe Scott Templeton. He's the type of person that will have your back in an instant, whether it's just someone to talk to, or in R Films Entertainment's case, an extra hand in front of the camera. Scott's debut came in 2004 when R Films shot their first feature-length film, Rose Lane. And from there, Scott became a fan favorite. With his wacky antics and unique sense of humor, he became sort of the comic relief for R Films. And he would eventually show this relief later down the road. But let's not strut too far along. Let's get back to the story. Scott's story. And his life behind the camera.
You son of a bitch!
What? What's the matter, Ronnie? What's wrong? Where the fuck did you...
Ronnie Pittman was fun. I think I played him more often than any other character. I think it took some aspects of my personal self, but just put a little twist to it. I think that the stories got a little scattered with each sequel. I'm not a big fan of sequels anyways. I think that for Nick it was a way to expand on what he already knew and use some things that he had learned. So I in all honesty, I think those movies in a sense was necessary for the growth of a lot of people that was involved with the filming. As you can see, I mean, production, editing, acting, everything's gotten so much further along. But I don't know, they're a little scattered in my opinion. But I think it was essential to mainly Nick's growth, but our films as a whole.
By the time No Loose Ends was finished in 2006, Scott was ready for a change, something that he was good at, and something that he absolutely strived for: comedy.
Finding Dinner was an idea that spanned from my love for martial arts and kung fu movies, and Nick caught on well because I don't know, I guess I entertain him, and we actually filmed a beginning of it. And it turned out pretty cool. We had Incubus music in the background. We mixed seriousness with the character basically thought he was a kung fu guy, but you could clearly see he was me, which is this, pale redheaded kid that just owns a few swords, and so. I really don't know why it didn't catch on. I don't even know if we wrote a full story. I think that's really why it didn't go through all the way, is because when I really sat down to write a story, I just don't think I liked it. It could still happen in all honesty, but I don't like the name Finding Dinner. I don't like the plot we had. basically, I don't even like the whole movie. I think the introduction scene of it is the best part, and we should just keep it that little short. It's a short. Finding Dinner is now a short. And we should still do a silly kung fu movie, but just drop any ideas we had about Finding Dinner because it was awful, and just make a whole new kung fu movie.
With the failure to execute Finding Dinner, Scott never got down about it, but instead became even more determined to create something that would flat out make people laugh their pants off.
Oh, crikey! It's Nicholas Brown here. And we are on search on Gulls Hill Island, Michigan, for the enchanted Great River Iguanodon.
The Iguanodon Files started on a whim in maybe Belleville at this racist bar, because I remember there being a sign on the door or something about like no coloreds or something like that. It wasn't what we expected. I remember that. It started off as a pit stop somewhere just to get a few drinks, and it turned out into me having more than a few drinks and Nick just happening to want to film. So I don't know. I just kind of started saying things, and for some odd reason it made sense to me. So I kept saying things, and it turned into something entertaining to people, I guess.
Oh, we're not looking for moose?
We're not looking for moose right now. Well, we might be looking for moose. Right now we're looking for the goddamn great iguanodon. What do you know about this animal?
Well, I know we should ask the moose, eh? Because they seem to know a lot. They're kind of like the park rangers of the forest, eh?
I'm not quite sure if I understand what you're saying. All I know is we're trying to get gas right now. Is that right, Nicholas Brown?
Fantastic there, Scott.
We're getting gasoline right now from the mobile gas station.
I hope we're getting premium, eh?
My favorite part about the Iguanodon Files would have to be just the fun of it. The no script, just me and my buddy hanging out, just being free, I guess, and just having a good time would be the best part about it.
Even though the Iguanodon File skits held a special place in Scott's heart, and he felt that the skits had potential to go somewhere, he just couldn't say the same for his personal life.
California, late 2000s, 2008 to 2009, or somewhere in that area, was actually probably one of the best ideas I've ever had. My uncle had wanted me to live with them for years. There's a few times where they invited me out. I just never took the opportunity for whatever reasons. But when I had moved, I just wasn't feeling anything. I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. I tried so many jobs and moved so many places, and it was just time to do something new and I guess rediscover myself in a way. So I moved to California with my uncle. I moved back about a year and 2 months later because, well, a few reasons. I missed home, and my uncle was moving into the desert, and they really didn't have anywhere else for me to stay, and I didn't really have anywhere else to stay, so I ended up moving back up to Michigan.
Once Scott had moved back to Michigan, Scott remained distant from the art film spotlight for a few years. That was until he had reconnected with Nicholas Barone in 2014 to propose an idea that he had been nagged about for years.
Nick and I had brought up the idea about making the Iguanodon Files a movie, I think really based on how funny it was watching it. Because after that first initial night, we had gotten Derek involved as well as this goofy Canadian guy. We did a McDonald's drive-in scene.
McMuffin. Well, keep talking, eh?
I may even get.
Well, here we go.
Let's find out what we're gonna get right now.
Here we go, here we go. Hey, this person behind us is looking at us pretty funny.
Hello?
So I think that just kind of went from these few little shorts we did into, hey, let's make a movie. Like, that's typical things that normal Americans talk about as making movies. So Nick bugged me about it for, geez, like 5-6 years that we actually talked of it. And so we just made it after that.
I'd like to show you some things if you don't mind.
I'd love to see what your past adventures.
Okay. Well,
Let the bed poop.
what we have here is a Loch Ness Monster. I found the Loch Ness Monster.
Loch Ness, you found old Nessie.
Yes, I did.
You found Nessie.
Go to the next one. Go to the. That's me riding old Nessie. That's right.
Crikey, that's a big bitch.
She is a huge one.
That's a big bitch.
She's a big old broad. She really knows how to weld it. It's Bigfoot.
Wow.
He shampoos all of that daily. All of it. It smells great.
Wow.
It smells really nice.
So did you really mess with Sasquatch?
Well, sort of.
Really?
Sort of.
He didn't kick your ass?
No.
And at the time, I knew a few people that that had some experience that I actually wanted to connect Nick with. So we had my buddy Ryan, who we all knew for years, involved, which I was excited about. We always worked good together. And then another buddy, Ryan, who had done some school for sound and stuff like that. And then we had another buddy, Alex, who had some filming experience as well. You know, you just have all these heads together, and we really don't know what we're doing, but we do. That's how I am anyways when I act, is like, okay, you can give me the script, I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna know what's going on, but I'm probably not gonna memorize most of it, and I'm gonna ad-lib most of it. And that's kind of how Iguanodon Files was done, was we just had fun, and Nick filmed what he wanted to film, and I even think for him, I don't even think he knew what he was filming, and we just kind of put it together into something that I think came out better than what I was hoping for it to come out. We didn't know pretty much through most of the movie the direction we were going, except we wanted to make this movie. And I remember we were sitting at a picnic table, goofing off. I think we were taking stills or something like that, or we were doing some of the edited, I don't know. But Jeremiah came up with the idea to make it look like it was kind of like The Office, where you'd have, you'd play something and then you'd have like these little side interviews, and it actually turned out really good.
Now, upon our investigations, one of the last places we seem to have heard of the Great Iguanodon was in the Shitty River here. Say it again? The Shitty River? The Shitty? Shitty.
So we're walking, and Scott is telling me about some kind of Shiza River right? That's German for shit.
And I laid some booby traps down along this area here.
I know Nick and I knew what we were gonna do with Ryan's scenes, as far as like it's like this bromance thing where like, you know, Nick and I were, you know, the greatest friends, and then another friend comes along, he's just like, I don't like that, and you know, silly Ryan speaking in his German accent. So I think we knew that, but then you put Jeremiah and Brian in, and they're acting like, you know, like some hillbilly brothers that live in a shack somewhere.
Look, man, that's tobacco, man. Shit, we hit the jackpot. Jim Bob, oh.
Man, you know, you and your damn tobacco, man. We're supposed to be looking for shit.
And then, you know, you still got Nick, myself, and Ryan's little thing going on. Yeah, I mean, I think it turned out well. And then he put the cast in. You know, you got the boom guy. Nick fires one guy and pulls another guy in, which I loved.
Come here! You! Roger the green shirt guy!
What are you guys doing?
Paris 2.
We tell us 3.
This is ridiculous. I'm about to quit.
Right, give me a go. Let's get out of here.
All I did was just say hi to Ryan. Never met him before.
No!
Nick just threw his little penis water bottle at my ass as I was walking away. What the hell was that about? Shit. Nicholas can kiss my ass, and I hate him.
Yeah, we involve everyone. And the cool thing about it is they're actually doing that job in the movie. It's not like we're making it up. Like, where the boom guy in the movie is literally the boom guy for the movie. I mean, how cool is that? So, you know, I actually really like just watching it, in all honesty. I just think that it's really cool to just know that I was a part of it, and I don't know, I just like to watch it and giggle like a little schoolgirl at just how well it came together.
It started out as an ordinary night, full of fun and celebration. It's been almost 3 weeks now since the night she came home. Hello everyone, and welcome to a special edition of Beatline PM. I'm Vance Franklin.
Nick, I don't think I had a lot of time for that. I knew he knew that I knew that he knew that our schedules were weird, and you know, time was kind of the essence, because it was someone else's space, really. So it was good to get it all together and get it done in one day. And how cool is it to you know, see Nate and Nick work in something that they're in a sense familiar with. That might have been the first time I met Nate, and wow, like really wow. Just his professionalism, and just no complaints, I mean, he's just all go, and I mean, enough to where, you know, I was able to talk my management here into filming a video for an Alfa Romeo.
My name's Scott Templeton, and welcome to the suburban Alfa Romeo Fiat studio in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm here to introduce to you and give you a brief overview of the Alfa Romeo 4C Spyder. I hope you enjoy.
And same with Nick. It's just not only was it cool to be in that type of atmosphere, but I think the coolest thing for me was realizing how far along Nick had come from the Rose Lane days, or from the backyard wrestling days, or even from filming his video games. So,
After Cornered, Scott again took a break from film to concentrate on his personal life, which included many things, from his job to hobbies that he had put off for way too long.
I work for Suburban Alfa Romeo Fiat in Ann Arbor. I am a brand manager as well as a salesman. And I've been here for a little over a year now as a salesman. And before that, I was what some would consider a lot manager. In hockey, my position is guy that stands in front of net because I'm not the best stick handler, and I don't do many things well, which is kind of odd because I've been playing for like 30 years. So I just skate to the front of either one of the nets and just stand there and either push someone or get pushed until the puck goes in the goal. Hiking actually has become a pretty big thing for me, once a year at least. Let's see, it's cheap, I don't have to deal with people, and the wilderness is something that you can actually recenter yourself and really think about things, and so hiking's actually become not just a hobby, but almost a way of life, in a sense.
In the next few years following Cornered, our films continued on producing film after film. Everything from suspense to horror, but nothing really contended with the heart and soul that the Iguanodon Files movie had carried, according to Scott. And not to say that anything else mattered, considering that 2014 was our film's best and most productive year since 2011. But as far as Scott's concerned, the 8-year process that it took to finally create the full-length feature that Scott and Nick had always wanted had finally come true. And that would trump all, according to Scott.
Take the shot, Miguel. Take the fucking shot. You're the traitor. That's all you are. Traitor. Take the fucking shot. Where are you boys? Where's Dylan?
Blindsided was probably up there with my favorite scenes to shoot, because Nick and I really don't get a chance to see each other, and when we do, it's just nice because you just get to goof off and catch up, but at the same time we're filming a movie. So Blindsided is the best put together film that our films has done thus far. It's good. It's good. I'm excited. I think this really shows the growth and maturity and all the hard work that everyone has put into this over the years, and it shows a lot of promise and things to come, without a doubt.
Now being 2017, Scott sometimes finds himself looking back to the early years of his life, high school in particular, where he was always reminded that if it wasn't for specific events that took place, that his life could have very well turned out completely different.
BCW actually did some things for me that I needed at the time, because when I met Nick and Brian, I was new to the city, and there was a rule at high school, I think most high schools, when you move to a school district within a certain period of time, you can't join the athletic clubs, no matter what it be. And I was actually a wrestler at Clarenceville, a good one. And when I moved to Wayne, that's really what I was most excited about. Was I think it was like a higher district than Clarenceville was. So I couldn't join the wrestling team, and that was pretty depressing. I didn't know anyone, and so here comes Nick and Brian and Mark, and they're doing backyard wrestling. I mean, we made our own belts, we made our own entrances. We had I had these speakers. I think they were mine. They might have been Brian's, but I had some too. Either way, we had these speakers, and we'd hook a microphone up to it and say things. And there's Nick with his camera, filming it. We got entrance music, and we're going to parks. We're going to rooftops, and we're going to, where else did we go? We went everywhere. We went the woods. We had some swimming pool ones. Geez, we even put one on for breast cancer awareness. Mother's Day Massacre. Man, like we went all in. We did. We went all in for 7-8 years, and in a sense, I think it helped mold our films, because Nick already had that thing to where he wanted to film from the get-go, since I first met him, really. He always had it. He always wanted to do something, it seemed, which I think it all makes sense now. And I just always wanted to goof off, and I did a lot of goofing off. So I think it all matched our character and our wants and needs. I think that Nick and Brian, when they met me, were happy they met me, because they didn't know anyone cool. And so I think it was a relief to Nick and Brian knowing that they're actually worthy people of someone that actually is kind of a cool person. Shit.
Scott Templeton continues to do the things he loves each day, whether it's his extreme love for professional or amateur hockey, hiking in the outdoors, or filming with the Our Films crew. He treats every one of these hobbies the same, and as far as his professional life, his devotion, loyalty, and maturity definitely shows as he thrives to be the best at what he does. Scott Templeton will always be a great friend and a loyal member of Our Films. From his early years on the set of Rose Lane to his most recent accomplishments such as the Iguanodon Files movie and Blindsided, Scott will always thrive to be the best. He's a man of 1,000 words, and that's the best way to describe Scott Templeton.